Hello and a very warm welcome to this week's episode of the Nditha Mindset Show with me, Irene Pat. So remember that the Nditha Mindset Show is all about personal development, self-motivation, mindset change, and becoming the best version of yourself. And we strive to bring you conversations with people that are meant to inspire you, to motivate you, and to remind you of the greatness that resides inside of you. And in today's show, I'm going to be talking to Audrey Mwala. She is the managing director of Sycamore Consult Limited as well as Sycamore Credit Limited. And I'm sure that we're going to have a fruitful discussion all about financial personal planning. And I'm going to invite her shortly, and I'm sure that we're going to have a fruitful discussion. So let me see if I can bring her up here, and hopefully this connection is going to work just fine. But otherwise, I look forward to a great conversation. I would like to encourage you to participate during this discussion, during this conversation. If you've got questions that you'd like to ask Audrey, please comment in the chat box, and I'll be able to see them. All right, and all right, okay, if you've got comments, be sure to comment, and I'm going to be able to see your comments. If you're liking the conversation and you want to be a part of it, like, give us an emoji, give us your favorite emoji, so that we know that you're on the other side and you're watching this and you're enjoying the value that is being discussed. Otherwise, in today's show, I'm looking forward to having a very rich conversation. Audrey is a woman that has risen through the ladder, even in our corporate journey. You know, the last post that she held was being a former managing director at the PPPC, and that's not a small feat. So we might have women on the other side of this, and they've got a dream to head an organization, to be at the helm of an organization. We're going to touch on what it takes to get there, and we're also going to look at how should you be planning for your financial life after corporate. And you know, we're also going to look at, let's talk about worth, let's talk about investment, let's talk about money, you know, let's have this conversation. All right, and I'm sure that we are going to have a fruitful discussion. Audrey will be joining us shortly, and I look forward to a very fruitful discussion. Hi Juliet, how are you? I hope that you're doing well. Good to have you here. All right, hi Audrey, welcome
Hi,
back.
thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I'm sure it's gonna get better as we go, but otherwise at least I can hear you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, great. For those people that have never heard of Audrey Mwala, would you mind introducing yourself?
Oh, thank you very much. My name is Audrey Mwala. I'm the managing director for Sycamore Consult Limited, and it's a training and consulting company. But I'm also a managing director of Sycamore Credit, and this is a microfinance company that provides short-term solutions to people that are looking for jobs, for credit facilities as employees, but also business people that are into the markets, doing group loans, and also just SMEs and government employees. So that's what I'm currently doing. Besides that, I'm a married woman. I've got 3 children, and I'm a Christian of the Adventist Seventh-day Church.
Okay. All right, great to hear. Audrey, walk me through your backstory. I mean, you growing up, how was that like for you?
My background growing up was not an easy life. It wasn't nice. And in fact, if we had to choose going back to childhood, I would run away. I wouldn't want it at all. It was very difficult, and mostly because my parents had separated, and I found myself living with my mom in Bangwe. And the conditions there were extremely hard. It's that kind of life where the bathroom is outside, that drop, long drop kind. You know, you have to go to the well, not even a borehole, a well, to go and get water. Yeah, so it wasn't easy, but then my dad lived in Kanjeza. It was a little bit better compared to where I lived with my mom. So in terms of supplies, yeah, of daily needs, it was very difficult. And that's why I don't think I loved my childhood. It was extremely difficult because you would come from school not knowing what you're going to eat at home. That it was that kind of life where you're walking around. And I remember sometime, I think when I was in standard 7, where the best dress that I had, the dress where if I had to go somewhere, that's what I would call the best dress. It was actually torn. So for me to wear it, I needed to borrow a jersey from my sister to cover the place where it was torn. So it was that kind of life. It was extremely difficult. I think that's what I can say. That's mostly the primary school of my life. When I went to secondary school, it was a little bit better because at that time, my stepdad, now my mom had remarried. So my stepdad, who was a lecturer at Nassau Technical College, had a little bit of better disposable income. So it wasn't like a lot of money, but it was just at least to give you a proper life, a life where you know that when you go home, you're going to find food, other than a life where you don't know what you're going to find. So it wasn't like luxurious food, but at least there was some food. So that life was a little bit better, and it also helped me to have a bit of peace of mind to focus on my studies and work very hard. Maybe I must say that I was one of those people that people used to mock us that I'm a bookworm because I used to study at secondary school. I don't know if that's enough.
Yeah, it is enough. And so that means secondary school, and then after that, I know you're a chartered accountant. So even in those conditions, you worked so hard, and later on, you became a chartered accountant. Walk me
Yeah,
through
yeah.
your career now. Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah. Yeah. So in terms of career, when I finished my secondary school, I went to Polytechnic where I studied Bachelor of Accountancy, and there life became better. The reason was because I had managed to secure a job with Raise, which is now Multi-Choice, to be working as an intern. So at least when I go during the holidays, when I work, I would have some funds. So that gave me a semblance of a better life. I paid myself, my whole university, I paid myself from the company, because it also turned out that during my second year, my dad passed away. So the boss that I had at Raise was very compassionate, and now Raise was paying for my school fees. So that's how I was able. Then I would work at school, and then in the afternoon I was going to Raise to work. And at the end, I was getting a bit of money that was now for my pocket money. So the high school life, I mean the university life, was a bit better because I had some source of income, but it was just the mercy of the boss that I had. Otherwise, I don't think I deserved to get what I was getting. He was just somebody who was just kind to me.
So it seems to me that you've always been enterprising. I mean, you don't normally hear the story of people getting jobs whilst they are in college in Malawi, but outside Malawi, it's quite very common.
Yeah.
How did you, like, I don't want to get too deep in that story, but I just wanted not to mention the fact that you were enterprising, that you got to get a job even in college.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I must say that we were so many people in college
Okay.
that would have gotten jobs, but it was not easy to get a job. And I remember I have a roommate. I had a roommate. Her name is Chris Mollison. So she's somebody that I've been together with even from secondary school. And we were both working extremely hard. And, you know, in secondary school, I remember that we were working and studying hard to a point that when we were in Form 3, we had already studied the Form 4 material. Because at that time, even the people that were in Form 4, we were teaching them that were ready to write it. We were teaching them when they were preparing for their exams. So we had a group where we studied very hard. So now, with this friend of mine, we went together to Pole. And I remember when we finished our first year, we decided to go on what we called a job hunting mission. So we started walking across the highway and going to, so we walked because Ray's Electronics was around Maselema. And I remember one day, we literally just started from the morning and we were knocking on the doors of every office shamelessly to ask for the HR manager and to ask for a job. And by the end of that day, I got a job and my friend also got a job. That's how we did it. But then it wasn't as easy as sitting down at the school and expecting that things would happen. But we had to go out. Yeah. And actually, now that I'm talking about this, it's reminding me that even when I got married in 1994, I went to Lilongwe because my husband then was working for Malawi Housing in Lilongwe, and I didn't have a job. And I also remember waking up one day and I told my husband that I'm going for a job hunting mission. And it was the same. I would knock on every door and say, I'm looking for the HR manager. Here is my CV. I'm looking for a job. By the end of the day, I had a job. The job was I was teaching at one of the universities. I think I was getting like 50 kwacha at that time.
Yes.
But then it was something than to have
Yes.
nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So what I'm trying to drive at is that now that I'm in Sycamore Credit and Sycamore Concert, something that I've seen is that if you sit in the office and you just sit down, you don't get business, but you need to get out. Even right now, I'm still living that life where I shamelessly go to Standard Bank and knock on their doors. I sit on the reception. I'll be told to wait, or I'll be told to go back if the person is not there. So it's that same thing that I was doing when I was looking for jobs. That has carried me through, that I'm doing exactly the same even right now, or when I'm in the entrepreneurship world. Not only that, even when I was working for the Public-Private Partnership Commission, I remember a time when I just decided that I'm going to do the first conference for public-private partnerships in Malawi. And that conference needed 100 million. I wrote to the Ministry of Finance. I had meetings with them. I did whatever I could for the conference to be funded, but somehow the ministry was not ready to fund. And I just decided to raise the money myself. And I started writing banks. I started calling some donor agencies. And at the end, I was able to raise more than the 100 million. And we had the first public-private partnership conference about 2 or 3 years ago at BICC. Yeah, it's that feeling when you don't have to be ashamed. If you need to ask, you have to ask. If you need to knock, you have to knock. If you need to walk on the streets to go to the next office, you just need to do it, because that's how business comes. It doesn't come by sitting down and just expecting things to happen to you.
So good. So good. So it's all about personal initiative as well, right? And just having a go-getter mindset. And talking about the Public-Private Partnership Commission, you rose through the ranks and at some point you were managing that organization. I would want to find out, what was that experience like, and what are the lessons that you picked up from holding that position?
Yeah, I think something I learned, well, there are many lessons, but then some of them were the spirit of sacrifice and putting others ahead of you. What I noted was that when I was at the PPPC, we were struggling with other things. And I remember one of them was the issue of capacity building funding. And there was a time when I fought very hard for government to give us some money for capacity building. But then the money was not enough. And I remember that I had to let other people go. Then so that I should go later, but it never came. Even that opportunity never came even for me. But I noted that before I was at the helm of the institution, I always had that mindset of wishing that, or fighting to get something. Maybe I would have been first one to submit my application, that I should be the one to go for that training. But when I was up there, I suddenly started putting the interest of other people first than myself. I remember in terms of trying to get the people to work hard, I introduced a fund which I called the CEO's Fund, that the employee of the month, I'm going to give them 100,000, but that was coming from my salary. So it was more like just to make someone happy for what they have done. Yeah, I also learned to have interpersonal skills of networking with different organizations. That's a great lesson that has helped me even in my own life as an entrepreneur, where I don't judge. I don't judge an institution or an individual. I always look at what value can I get from that person, and what are the common areas that we can find common interests with that person. So I learned to be very open-minded, where everybody to me is somebody that I always look for what is the strength of that person and how can we connect on their strength. So that's something that I think I learned. The other aspect I learned was the aspect of resources, to just find a way of mobilizing resources, because even though the PPPC is a government entity, the money never just came. We really needed to justify, to lobby even for enough funding, because it wasn't enough. So that's something that it kept me, because it was a little different when I was just the director of project finance, because that job of making sure that the organization is got financing was done by my boss. But when I was there now, that became my priority, to make sure that my team is paid at the end of the month. So that's something that I would say I learned along the way through my time as the Public-Private Partnership Commission. But I think the other thing is that I also learned to do certain things that people will not really appreciate, but then you get the satisfaction because you know that you have achieved what you needed to do. Because there are quite a number of things that I believe I did to the best of my capacity, but not many people would celebrate and clap hands for you, because people generally celebrate failure. They don't really celebrate success. So I think that's something that has carried me through even in entrepreneurship, where I know that whenever I do something that is commendable, I'm not going to have many hands clapping hands for me. So those are some of the lessons I can talk about.
And talking about your entrepreneurship journey, I know that you had to like retire, right, from the corporate sector, the private sector, and it just seems to me like you had a seamless transition into your current endeavors, which is like entrepreneurship. How did you plan that transition? What made it seem so easy for you? What are the lessons that you can share for somebody that is on the verge of facing retirement, and somehow maybe they're scared of that change that's coming up for them? What are the things that you can share with them? Like, how did you seamlessly transition?
Yeah, I think it was indeed seamless, or maybe I may say it may look like it was seamless.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it was just a question of moving from one office building in Livingstone Towers to the next office building in a Plantations House, and just changing the Wi-Fi, and life began. I think it was as simple as that. I must say that there was a lot of preparations well before that, and the preparation was from what is it that I wanted to do, but also how I was going to support my life after the salary went, and also the psychological part that comes with the life of an entrepreneur. I went through that preparation, and the spiritual aspect that gives you courage to do what looks scary. I remember this verse of Isaiah 41, verse 10, which said, "Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not despair, for I am God. I am going to help you. I am going to uphold you with my righteous hand." You know, that's one of the verses that was part of my journey when I was switching. So specifically, I would say that I had started investing in real estate quite a while ago, to a point that I was able to have some substantial amount of money that was coming to me from the rentals that was covering the bigger expenses of what I think is probably every parent's expense, which is the school fees of children.
Yes.
The aspect of investing on the stock exchange, which I had also learned a while back. So I was just investing aggressively. Whatever, I think I got to a point where I am, even up to now, I smile when I'm investing than when I'm spending. So when I have money, I would dance when I see that money making its way to the stock exchange than to see that money making its way in a shop where I'm just going to waste it. Yeah. So I did invest on the stock exchange, but there was also the aspect of cutting down on frivolous expenses to just ensure that I am managing a manageable budget. I think these include the home expenses, the number of workers that you have. I think those things I tried to manage them. But over and above that, I also created a network of entrepreneurs. I started talking to people like Dr. Mpinganjira, Anatikat, Napoleon Zombe, uh, the Pastor Simama in Lilongwe. I talked to people like Mike Mlomba. I talked to other people that are not in Malawi, like Dunisani Kube, he's in from, and John Kauya, he's from Botswana, and other entrepreneurs like the guy who bought PTC. He lived in South Africa. You know, those became very close to me, and I was just trying to just learn from them on what I should do, what I should expect, and do they think I'm ready? What are the lessons that I need to know in advance? Even Harun Takwan, the owner of Anadikat, became my friend. He's also the name has slipped my mind, but the owner of Sun and Sand. He's someone that I have spent time with to just understand their genes, what happened, and get any advice that they can give me. So I think that network created a bit of courage, because it gave me courage to know that this is the path that it takes, and I can also follow the same. Over and above that, there are also an inclusion to my network was other people that I have not seen, but it is my hope that one day I'll meet them. There are people like Grant Cardon. He's from America. There is
Yes.
Les Brown, and there's, I've forgotten the name, but there is a gentleman from Canada. He looks Chinese, but he's the author of F Money.
Yes.
Sorry?
I know him.
You know him. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So these guys, they have talked to me from a distance, but whatever they said helped to build me psychologically, because it's that psychological preparation that you need along the journey, because it's a very, very difficult journey. Yeah, so there is that part. And then now the other aspect was the preparation on what is it that I'm going to do once I am out of here, the activity. Yeah, so that's when I decided to register a company. And then I started with the microfinance company. And I wanted to leave immediately when I started it. But when I looked at my requirements in life and the size that the company was small, it was not possible for the company to support me at that time. So I just decided to wait a little bit until I thought the company can pay me a salary. And 2 years later, I now started the training and consulting company. And now by the time I was leaving, but both of these I was still doing them when I was working. And by the time I was leaving, both companies were at a stage where they could pay me. Um, if I look at everything that I had at the PPPC, I would not say that the companies pay me exactly as it is, but they pay me enough to manage my life and also allow me to invest in. And yeah, I think I just looked for a salary that was going to allow me not to struggle, but to be able to manage my day-to-day life and also be able to save and invest. So that's something that happened. In terms of preparation, I think the other aspect was the aspect of conducting my financial life in a manner that it should create trust from the financial institutions as well as other people. Because for both companies, I needed to have shareholders. And I found it very strange that even people that I don't know personally were able to give me a couple of millions to put in the company. And they just trusted me somehow. That was something that I thought was a very good help, because a lot of people fail to implement their decisions because they don't have the resources. But at the same time, there are a number of people that have the money, but they, these people don't have anyone that they can trust. So I thought that kind of life where I was able to be trusted was a great asset. Um, Actually, there's a certain transaction that I'm doing currently where someone wanted to invest in our company, but there were one or two issues that made that person not to be ready. And what I saw is that he transferred the money to me. He said, take this money, hold it. When I'm ready, I'll tell you. Then we're going to do the change in the shareholding. So you're talking of a couple of millions and someone just having that faith that I'm not going to run away with the money. So I think it's that aspect. But also now, when you start the business, there will also be a need for you to finance through credit facilities. If you look at all the financial, or maybe I should say, almost every business, it operates with the help of either an overdraft facility or a loan. So that also was something that worked to my advantage in terms of my personal life, where whenever I have a loan, I would service it faithfully and I would service it oftentimes before the due time. Now, when I started my business, the financial institutions didn't know my company and they couldn't lend to my company, but they would bend themselves to find a way of still helping me by structuring a facility that is going to be a loan to me, and then I lend to my company. But then after a couple of years, now I noted that the company itself had built its own credibility and its own identity, where now I don't have to borrow on behalf of the company can borrow in its own right. So I think basically that's what I would say. I think I've talked about the financial preparation I've
Yeah.
talked about the activity preparation, but also the psychological preparation that I needed to go through.
So good, very, very insightful. And also from what you've said, I'm also looking at the aspect of integrity. I think the character that you've built, it's been an asset in terms of
Yeah.
your ability to advance in your life at this particular level. And talking about in your response, you talked about how you've been investing, like you started investing in property and also the Malawi stock, the stock exchange. I'm interested to hear your thought in terms of somebody who has never invested before. They don't know what it is, or they just feel like maybe investing money in a stock exchange is complex. What would you say? Where do they start from? How do they begin their journey of financial mastery or financial investment?
Yeah. Uh, well, investing on the stock exchange is probably complex to somebody who does not understand how it works. But the moment you know the steps, it's not complicated. Actually, I had shared even some steps on my Facebook. I think this week somebody had asked the same thing. But then the issue is not that the process is complicated, but the issue is understanding the process. Because the stock exchange is a platform for wealth creation. It's a platform for business, but many people are short-term minded to a point that they don't manage to create the wealth that they should have created when they invested on the stock exchange. Because investing on the stock exchange is a journey, and it's a long-term journey. I think I had shared also something on my Facebook page maybe a week or two ago, where I was saying that there are 16 counters on the stock exchange, and if somebody had made a decision and was able to invest 1 million every time a company was going on the stock exchange, it means that because our stock exchange has been around for just about maybe 20 or 22 years. I think it started in 1996, thereabout. Yeah. So it means that in the space of 20 years, one would have invested 16 million. Reality, if you look at the reality, on average, those of us that are working could have managed to get, because if you look at it, it means investing maybe about 1 million in 2 years, thereabout. So most of us could afford to have 1 million in every 2 years that would have invested. And if that was the case, then it would have meant that investing 16 million over a space of about 20 years would have turned you into a billionaire by now, because that money would have turned to 1.5 billion as we are talking today. So when you are investing on the stock exchange, you have to understand that it's a process. You need time. It's not something that you go in and you expect that tomorrow you're going to benefit. So you have to be prepared for the long haul, and you also have to be prepared on the psychological and the emotional part, because what happens with the stock exchange is that the share prices, they fluctuate a lot. There's a lot of volatility where the price will be up and then tomorrow the price will go down. But what is true is that in the end, it goes up, then it will go down. But oftentimes, by the time it is going down, it doesn't get to where it was before. It will have, for example, maybe if it has gone up by, let's say, 15 kwacha, then maybe it falls. It will have fallen by, let's say, 6 kwacha. Then it starts going again up, maybe by another 8 kwacha, and maybe it will have fallen by, let's say, 4 kwacha. So you see that the trend is upward. So
Yeah.
you win, you lose. Yeah, there have been times when I have won maybe 4 million in a day. There have been times when I've lost it on one day as well. So you need to be prepared for the emotions where you're going to see losses and wins, but then at the same time, you know that in the long run, it ends out to become a win on average if you look at it. So investing on the stock exchange simply requires you to identify a stockbroker. We have got 3 in Malawi. We have Stockbrokers Malawi, and there's also Cedar Capital and Continental. So you just open a trading account and then you transfer money there, and then you ask the broker to start buying shares for you. Of course, you can ask the broker for advice, or you can just buy any share when you feel like. But otherwise, there are so many other things. You know, there is that thing that you see in the newspaper where you have a report which shows the value, the closing price, the price earnings ratio. You also need to understand that, but I think it's something that I may not be able to go in detail now. But then when we are like, I think we had a class last, I think 3 weeks ago on investments where we were going through that. Sure.
Okay. Okay. What about, all right, we have just lost her, but otherwise, I hope that you're enjoying the conversation. I sure am enjoying the conversation. I think that you see from her story that she has not had it easy, but she's somebody that has been enterprising all her life. I think she has been a go-getter all her life. She has that attitude of mind, like a winning attitude of mind. And I think that she is somebody who is, you know, always looking for opportunities and positioning herself in such a way that she leverages those opportunities. And talking about investing and talking about preparing like a robust financial future, she's, you know, proposing that the stock exchange investing is one of the ways to go, right? That if you have not yet started investing on the Malawi Stock Exchange, please do start investing. Why? Because in the long run, the growth pattern is always upward. In the long run, it means that you are going to gain. And also, she has highlighted the fact that investing on the stock exchange is not a short-term investment. So you have to be looking at a longer-term investment, which is like a period between 5 to 10 years, and even beyond that, in order for you to see actual returns on your money. But otherwise, it's all about like making a decision, making a shift in your mindset in terms of what you want your financial future to be like, and taking a proactive role in creating it. And how do you start? You start by investing your money. And sometimes I think we think about investing and we're like, oh, I need to have a lot of money. She's talked of $1 million, but come to think of it, you might not have $1 million to put aside, but you might have a 50,000 to put aside. You might have 100,000 to put aside. You can start slowly. You can start with the small amounts that you have, because you can look at the different counters on the Malawi Stock Exchange and you see the share value, and you can start buying slow. Like you can start where you are and then give yourself the leeway, give yourself the opportunity to up your investments as you go. Don't be under pressure to start with a high amount when you can't afford it. Start as small as you can, and then you keep on building it up year after year. I hope that you're catching value. Hi Memory, I see you. Hi Rosie. Rose, how are you? Hi Philip. Hi Wyson. I am interested to hear your feedback from what we have discussed so far. Give me your comments. If you've got any questions that you want me to ask Audrey when she comes back, I am interested for you to get into this conversation with me. Give me your comments, give me your favorite emojis, so that we know that you're there and you're enjoying this conversation. I think that, oh my gosh, it's just really riveting. It's nice to hear Audrey's story, to hear her story from the grassroots level when she was starting out, how she had to go through difficulties. Sometimes when you're going through difficult times and all you have is images of people that are making it, you feel like they have not had their pitfalls. But there are people that have had their pitfalls, but they have been able to surpass them. They've been able to walk through the fire and come out on the other side, which gives us evidence that if you're going through a difficult time right now in your own life, you are also going to get on the other side of whatever it is that you are going through right now. Why? Because because that's life. It's part of life for you to go through those difficult times and to learn the lessons, you know, and yeah, to learn the lessons and to grow from them. So don't you give up on yourself. When you're down, know that it's like dust yourself up and get back on the bandwagon and keep going on your journey, because the human spirit is strong. The human spirit has got tenacity. Like, there is always a way out, right? Don't you sit back and feel like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. You don't have to know how. Just believe that you are going to get out of it, and you are going to get on the other side of it. Let me know what's coming up for you for the, from this conversation. What are the lessons that you've picked so far? What is your contribution? I would like to hear from you. Okay, I've learned a lot already. I love that you talked about, you know, surrounding yourself with the right people. So she knew that she was going to get herself into this world of entrepreneurship, and what did she do? Before retiring, she found herself in a space where she was looking for new information. She was networking with the right people, you know, getting in touch with the people that are already in the space, so that she could get insight in terms of how to handle post work life, right? And she's been able to transition because she got the courage from just talking to the right people. You can get the courage that you need, that in order for you to also set yourself up to be winning in the space that you're in. So critical is to look at your network. Look at your network. How are they impacting your life? How are they positively impacting your life? What are the lessons you're learning from them? Are they up-leveling you? Is your network up-leveling you, or is your network people that are bringing you down? If this is a perfect time, it's towards the end of the year, I'm sure that most of us are going to be sitting back and assessing our own lives, assessing our businesses, assessing our careers. I think it's important that we ask ourselves important questions to say, the people that I'm surrounding myself with, what is the impact that they're having on me? Should I continue to hang out with the same crowd on Fridays, or should I find myself a new group of people? Am I winning? Am I not winning? And if I'm not winning, what is a contributing factor to the results that I'm getting? You'll find that you are the average of the five people that you spend most of your time with. So you can, you know, that should give you pointers. If you're not winning, maybe it's time you change your circle of friends. And also, she mentioned the element of like some people that have impacted her life. They're people that she has never met. So these are people that you can find online. You can look up Les Brown. Les Brown is one of the biggest motivational speakers on the face of the earth, and Grant Cardone, he's one of the biggest real estate investors in the US. And if you find yourself, you know, if you can find these people online and start to listen to their content, start to listen to their lessons, their teachings, you realize that they'll start to change your mindset. They'll start to change the way you look at your life. And the thing is, once you change the way you see life, once I'm gonna end this, and so that we can save this live, and if she comes back, we're going to continue from there. But otherwise, I am all about this conversation. It's been so good so far, and I'll see you on the other side when she's joining us again. Let's see.